Are you confused about how you can incorporate social media into your business to not only deliver a great client experience, but also to attract that steady stream of pre-qualified, pre-endorsed clients and customers? I mean, you're hearing it all over the internet that you got to do this, you got to do that, and there's so many social media outlets. Well, we are so fortunate today. We have an expert who is one of the top social media online marketing experts out there. He's an award-winning author. He's been my consultant in really helping me and our businesses really leverage social media and make a difference. And I wanted to share him with you. So stay tuned. You're going to be glad you did, because you're going to see some unbelievable, remarkable ways to make social media simple to achieve your goals.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Ted Prodromou, I am so excited to bring to you here with the magic of Skype and share you with the world. One of the top marketing online consultants and certainly an expert on LinkedIn particularly. Ted, first of all, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be your guest.
Well, no, we've had a lot of fun working together, and you've taught me a lot, and we've figured out some of the things that we can really execute across our businesses, and I wanted to share. But I want to start a little background, and our viewers and our listeners want to know, geez, you're out there, you're making a difference, you're helping, entrepreneurs really attract a steady stream of new potential clients. I always look at marketing as starting the conversation. We want to get more people to raise their hand that are qualified, and social media is a great way of getting that conversation going. But I'm pretty sure you didn't wake up as a young man, 15, and go, I am going to be a LinkedIn expert, because you and I know LinkedIn didn't exist then. But tell me a little bit about the journey to get where you are now.
Well, I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania, and I moved to California in 1979. And I went to Silicon Valley, got a job. For 20 years, I worked in Silicon Valley for companies like DEC and Cellular One, all when they were starting up. Worked for some really great companies, and it was a great 20-year ride till the dot-com boom hit, or crash. And at that point, my 20-year career literally disappeared. And I couldn't go back to my old jobs because those jobs were outsourced, or the salaries were cut so low. They were making like $15,000 a year instead of six-figure salaries, literally overnight. So at that point, I just had to reinvent myself.
I always joke about life intruding, and it doesn't seem like a joke at that moment. But the classic is entrepreneurs, and you weren't an entrepreneur yet, although you were in a very entrepreneurial culture. And then the door closes. You go out, you start looking at this, and what led you to we're online marketing? The whole concept. I mean, it was. Really most of it was exploding in the early 2000s, and it was kind of the Wild West and all that. How did that come together for you?
Well, when I went out on my own, I thought for 20 years people threw money at me and threw jobs. I could literally get a new job every week and make more money for 20 years. So then all of a sudden I'm on my own, and nobody wanted to hire me. I didn't know how to market and sell. So that I kind of ran into, Dan Kennedy newsletter. I started going to Dan Kennedy conferences. I said, I got to learn how to market and sell. And that's where it kind of led me. I met Perry Marshall in 2004, and I just started learning as much as I could about sales and marketing, and that led me to internet marketing. And then I wrote my first social media ebook in 2005.
Yeah, which is, when did Kindle come out? That wasn't even out in 2005, was it? Or,
no.
Yeah.
No.
So you were way ahead on the ebooks. And one of the things I do want to point out, and this is something for all of us, you might want to go to Ned Hollowell's podcast. If you're, as you're listening to Ted, it's so often that all of us, have these challenges, and so many entrepreneurs, we try to figure out the challenge on our own. And Ned talks about, and he really focuses psychiatrists on the mindset of an entrepreneur. And one of the smartest things we can all do is go out and really never deal with a problem or challenge on our own. We've got to get, informed entrepreneurs with us, and some of the best, Dan Kennedy, certainly one of the direct response, one of the giants, and then Perry Marshall, just an amazing individual. As a matter of fact, Ted, how I found you was I did one of Perry's 4-man intensive programs, and I said, hey, I need some help on social media, and he goes, go to Ted. so and this is where oftentimes the student becomes the expert along the way. And I know you've written a couple books on this as well, and I want to come to that in a little bit later. But tell me what are you seeing working for entrepreneurs now that you have the privilege of helping?
The big thing is, like, when I wrote that first ebook, Friendster was the big social network. Mm-hmm. Facebook was just for college students. It was just barely even getting started. LinkedIn was just getting started. So over time, these platforms will come and go, how you meet people, but it's how you engage with them and build relationships. I mean, sales always comes back to relationships. And all these social networks are ways to meet people. So if you go out there and just blast your message out like a megaphone, you don't get results and people get frustrated. And I said, what if you just reach out, pick up the phone and call somebody you just connected with on LinkedIn? They fall out of their seat. They go, whoa, oh, it's good to hear from you. So it's about relationships. It's not about social media itself.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the big takeaways that I've had. I mean, I've looked at all the research from some of the marketing organizations and that are pulling it together, and whether you're B2B or B2C, and it looks like most of the bigger businesses, they're somehow scoring their lead scoring. They're saying about 16% of their new business is coming from social media, which is, that's significant. I mean, particularly when you look at word of mouth and, the existing relationships, to have that incremental, that 16 is a lot of the new business, the new relationships coming. And the temptation is, okay, I got to get, hundreds of thousands of Facebook friends, and I got to get, this, and I got to get that, and, I got to go over here now, and I got to learn Pinterest, and I got to learn Instagram, and I got to get Twitter, and I got to do this. And one of the things that you were helpful for me is to think of it as a platform. I mean, these are just tools. And so what you want to do is refine your message and then leverage it. And Ted, I mean, do you have people coming to you? I mean, I know when I first started, I thought, geez, do I try to do everything? And then, there's no way you can do everything. I mean, so where are you seeing people focus on, given all the changes that are going on? It seems like every other day Facebook's doing something different, or LinkedIn or Twitter, or all the major players, and the minor players I don't know, but they're probably doing even more changes.
Right. Well, like I told you, I'd probably taken 6 Facebook advertising classes in the last year, and they're all obsolete because it keeps changing so fast. So to keep up with all, it's really hard. So what I try to do is just find the experts that love to keep up with all that and work with them. And I focus on that message and getting your message out there and connecting with people. I find that so much easier.
So give me an example, Ted. One of the things that we look at social media as kind of an awareness process, and we want to make people aware of what we're doing. We want to engage in a conversation, and then ideally we'd like to kind of filter out those people who we could best serve, and then have a conversation with them. How do we go about that? I mean, why don't we take you're really a LinkedIn expert, and LinkedIn. I mean, there's just, I don't know, how many professionals are there on LinkedIn today?
Over 300 million now.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't start 300 million conversations right away. I mean, the temptation, if LinkedIn would let everybody just blast the 300 million, I think people would. And and there'd be, maybe their brother would respond, or sister type thing, but almost no one else. what would be kind of the how do you focus in on a subgroup that you're going to communicate with, and then what are some of the messaging strategies that you're seeing working?
One of the biggest mistakes I see my clients have is they'll connect with people in their peer groups on LinkedIn instead of where their prospects are. They're spending all their time networking with their competitors rather than trying to build new relationships with potential clients.
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of I think it was you that told me that I hadn't turned. I pretty much let anybody in the financial services before. Now we're doing all entrepreneurs connect with that have successful businesses and so on. But prior to that, it was just really the financial advisors, by letting all my competitors connect with me too. And they were seeing everyone that was, the 3,000 or 4,000, now 4,000 connections that I have. It was kind of like, I didn't know there was a little switch that you could turn off so it's only shared. And there's just these little nuances. But, so let's say that we identify that this is our market. Whatever market, we have so many markets, entrepreneurs are listening to, whether they're selling to government contractors or like myself, where my primary business is coaching top financial advisors, or they're an attorney working in the corporate market, whatever it is, it's pretty easy to get clear who the clients are, what your primary focus is, and how do you take that and then look at something like LinkedIn to, okay, there's 300 million, obviously not all of them fit in that. How do I kind of work it to a group that I can actually communicate with?
I really look at the 80-20. You think about, go for that 20% that are going to spend money with you, or that's going to be your ideal clients. And what you can do is you can upload your contacts into LinkedIn now. So take your top 20% of your clients and make sure you're connected with them. And connect with them and keep those relationships going on LinkedIn.
That to me is, it's a great way to get, you want to get a number so it looks like you're at least reasonably connected individual. But the other thing that I'm really impressed with, that so many of these social media really don't, they're kind of one-way street. They don't make it very easy to get the data out, and LinkedIn makes it easy to export the data out too, of your connection. So it's because everything changes, every once in a while I'll download all my connections because I just want to have that stuff. And you can reach outside of the network. Now you don't want to spam and so on, but this is, it's just a great way. And the other thing I love about LinkedIn is when you send an email, it's a little bit of an annoyance in the sense that it has that number, and most of us that are entrepreneurs can't stand having somebody say that you got to do 3 things. So you click on it, and you're more like you're going to take an action. You're going to look at it and possibly delete it or not delete it or respond to it. And so it's a much more the deliverability is much higher too. Is that what you've found, Ted?
Oh yeah, they get up to an 80% open rate when you email people on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and you think
without the internet.
And so many marketing campaigns. I mean, B2C, I remember I did one B2C campaign, and I was all excited, and it was a big campaign, and we did 2.5% open rate. And I was almost in tears. How could it be that bad? And then I'm talking with some of the consumer marketing people, and they say, geez, you did a good job.
Right.
And I can tell you, in B2B, in an open rate for a non-personal email, I mean, if you're hitting 14%, that's pretty good. So doing 80% is knocking it out of the park.
Right.
What are the messaging that you're seeing that, okay, it's one thing to open something up, it's another to actually start a conversation or set the stage to start a conversation? How are the more successful entrepreneurs going and diving and taking that and really making that work?
Well, one thing I do is when I connect with somebody, I'll take a moment and I'll literally send them like a 2-sentence, thank you for connecting. If I can ever help you in some way, let me know. So go from that giving perspective rather than hire me. Like you get these long emails a lot of times. Here's what I can do for you. And they don't ask a question about you. It's a one-way conversation. So I just like to open up a dialogue, say, hey, call me. I give them my phone number right in the message. Say, call me anytime if you have any LinkedIn questions. And people do.
Well, I want to just, the law of reciprocity, I don't know who first shared this with me, but if you give first, it's just so much more powerful. And I almost never connect with anybody that's a marketing for any of the online services, because what they do is they do exactly what you said, Ted, is they go ahead and they have, I'd like to connect, and they give a reason that seems legitimate. You connect, and you immediately get this long, email saying how many different ways they can help you. Yes. And if you're not the right one in your firm, would you please refer me to someone? And there's just nothing there. So the ability to start a conversation, if you can offer, whether it's a phone call or an ebook or some special report or something that they're going to be interested in, and make yourself available, or some of your other resources. I mean, I always find it's a great place to repurpose other things that we're doing.
Right.
So Ted, let's go on to kind of what was a big breakthrough that you see for, as an entrepreneur yourself, as you've been building your business up, and then also for your clients. And I'm going to play this segment real quick. So we're looking for the big breakthrough. What do you think, where is that coming from, do you think?
It's, I think, from going to those Dan Kennedy events, and they always stress, get into coaching programs, hire a mentor. You need someone to help guide you. And it took me a few years to get to that point, because at that time it was like $10,000 to $15,000 a year. I said, oh, that's way too much money. And then once I did that, it's like I made that back the first week I was in the program, just from the people I was surrounded with. Because it's a lot of high quality people. I work with the very best people by surrounding myself with these mentors.
No, and that's one of the things. I mean, that's why we started AESNation.com. Was all about creating a virtual mastermind. I mean, it came out of hanging out with Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach. I'm in his program. Joe Polish in 25K or Genius Network Marketing. And I'm writing some pretty good checks to these guys. I spend well over $100,000 a year in training programs myself. And the reason I do is twofold. One, I want to find the experts who are already doing it, so that I don't have to go out. I don't want to hire a consultant that doesn't know what they're doing. I want to see somebody that's already walking the talk, that's having success. And the second part, and it's so much quicker, the second part is there's so many other like-minded entrepreneurs that are there, that the networking opportunities, I mean, I've never gone to a meeting that I haven't immediately made it back. Not only the cost of the investment, but the opportunity cost. So I'm real selective on the programs, because there's no shortage of programs out there, but once you narrow in on those key areas that you want to focus on, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah, it's unlimited. So I've been following Perry Marshall for 10 years, since he began, really. It's just really consistent, great advice. He has the right people around him. So find a good person and just follow them.
And that's one thing I think I would do, is not try to be with everyone. I mean, if you have the scale business and you like it, I mean, I'm a lifelong learning, so I have a lot. But I have my own mastermind for financial advisors. We've got well over 200 financial advisors in there, and they get huge value from the networking, the research that we bring, that whole connection and everything else. And this is what you're looking to do. Each and every one of us should be looking to, where can we hang out? I mean, the reality is, there are very few, your drinking buddies, your friends, that understand what the heck you're doing. I know when I try to explain to friends that I have these multiple businesses and this is what I do, hanging out. I mean, I have all my businesses are virtual now. In past, we've had as many as 400 employees, but today it's virtual, and global headquarters is my pool house. And, the world is changing with technology and what we can leverage. But we want to find people who have already gone in that direction. And that's one of the reasons why I do all these interviews, is I love having the conversations, Ted, with you and your peers and our fellow entrepreneurs, to kind of really see what's working out there. Yeah. Let me go to the next segment here. So what do you passionate about right now? I mean, where are you taking your company in the direction you're consulting?
For years, I've been doing Google ads, Facebook ads. I've been doing all kinds of different online advertising, but writing this LinkedIn book, I'm getting a lot of publicity from that. And I'm just kind of migrating to that, and I feel so much more comfortable because LinkedIn's platform may change a little bit, but it all comes down to connecting with people that you can build relationships with. And that like was a weight off my shoulders, like, oh, I don't have to keep learning all this new technology every week. I can just focus on building relationships, and LinkedIn lets me connect with more people.
No,
So,
it is. I mean, and that's, this is, if there's ever a secret of being a good entrepreneur, is focus, focus, focus. I mean, just, you try to be all things to everyone you can, and that's, and I reached out to Ted for that. Matter of fact, let me go to the segment, the next one. And it's the book of the day, and this is actually, one of the things I love, and I've written a number of books as well, is the credibility books bring, and it's kind of two parts. One, you have to position yourself as an expert, and the way you position yourself as an expert, one of the ways is writing a book, and it forces you to get thoughtful on the book. When you got to write that many pages, you get to know it. Second, though, is then when you can really have a distribution, and you did. I mean, you did it with Entrepreneur Magazine. You have a whole bunch of other kind of experts out there that have told me, including Perry Marshall, that this is the book. So let me put up on the screen, Ted, let's start with a LinkedIn book, and why don't you tell everybody what is in this book?
yeah, that one I wrote actually 2 years ago. I just finished the second edition. It's off to the publisher. And in 2 years, it changed dramatically. Just their interface. The networking features didn't change, but it really takes you through optimizing your profile, how to build your network, how to connect with the right people. Don't connect with everybody. So I give a lot of tips on just how to use LinkedIn, and you can do it in 15 or 20 minutes a day, which is the best part.
No, and you didn't stop just at LinkedIn. You also wrote another book, and let me put that up, on the ultimate guide to Twitter. So for our I'm putting it up on the screen for the video podcast, but if you're on the audio, it's the ultimate guide to Twitter for business, and the other is for LinkedIn. In the show notes, you can always go to aesnation.com. We'll have all the links of anything that we talk about in the show and so on. But what about Twitter here? I mean, this is, I still haven't gotten into tweeting, and I do have an account. We're sending some things out, more of the repurposing, existing content. But what are you seeing happening there?
Well, that's funny because I went to a Perry Marshall 4-man intensive in 2007, and he did some Google search. He goes, "You got to write a book about Twitter." I'm like, how am I going to write a book about Twitter? I hope they wanted a 200-page book. I couldn't write that much. So I went off, and then 3 years later, I wrote this book. Because Joel Comm came out with his 6 months after I met with Perry, and it was not that big of a book. So then Entrepreneur approached me, and I wrote this book about Twitter, and I found a lot of great success stories of small business owners who just by consistently tweeting out messages and interacting with people, they grew their businesses. So it wasn't about just blasting content. It was about them actually talking with people. And Chris Brogan does it really well. He actually interacts with people on Twitter, have conversations.
Well, and I think, I want to keep on, I always call this stuff as mastering conversational marketing. And it's about using, in today's world, what's so great, and this is what I love about technology, is in the old days, and this is pre-2000, you had to go through media outlets. I mean, you had to work with a newspaper, a radio, a TV, and you had to really use PR or print ads, radio ads, and so on. Well, today now, every entrepreneur has the opportunity to control their platform. And what I mean by that, you get to create your own content. And then, what we're talking about is we're using outlets. I mean, I'm going to use a podcast as an example here that Ted and I are doing today. I wanted to create an outreach to successful entrepreneurs. I want to start a conversation. I'm going to share it by all the different experts that we have the privilege of working with. Now, what's happening that is so amazing is iTunes wants content. So they, and as we did that, we're doing this. We're still in the first 2 months, which is the 8 weeks of you can hit new and noteworthy, which we've hit and we've been in for the whole time. And then also, we're one of the top ones in the business management and marketing areas and so on, and we'll continue to grow. And they're promoting us, okay, which is great. In addition to that, we have it on the Android, Stitcher, and then we have, okay, now I'm sharing, and this is stuff that you've taught me, Ted, is just sharing it on all the social medias now, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Google Plus, and so on. And what we're finding, I'm seeing different people connect, and it's starting conversations, and just I call it magic. There's just so many things going on, and this is where we're blessed to be entrepreneurs during this time period.
Yeah, your audience on Twitter is different than your audience on Facebook, and it's different than your LinkedIn audience, but they're all interested in you.
Yeah, and in Twitter, I'm not. Do you have anyone that you're working with that's kind of hitting out of the park, that a story you can share on Twitter? Because I'm just not. I'm just beginning to play in it now.
Yeah, it seems to work really well for small business owners, like work-at-home moms. One woman was working a job, and she lost her job. She got laid off, and within 6 hours, she had like 5 clients on social media because she was just tweeting information, and people connected with her. Said, "Can you do this for me?" So consistency is the key. You can't just tweet once a week or once a month. Just put information, share useful information, and engage with people. Build relationships.
No, that's great, Ted. And let me go to the next segment. And this is resources. And what I want to do, Ted, is pull up on the screen your website. And you have really focused on LinkedIn. And that's one of the areas where I first reached out to you that you've been helping. And America's leading LinkedIn coach. Very important to be positioned well. And you've got some good resources there. Why don't you tell our viewers, and we'll have this in the show notes, and the web address is TED, T-E-D, and everybody has a hard time pronouncing Ted's last name, Prodromou, and it's Prodromou.com, and we'll have it in the show notes and so on. Ted, what kind of resources can the viewers and listeners find? Because I was pretty impressed when I just, again, prepped for the meeting. I went and downloaded, kind of your special offer at the top there. Let me put that, get your LinkedIn strategy guide now. And I love how, you're very action oriented on it.
Yeah, the ebook, it teaches you how to build your foundation. It's how to optimize your profile. Because LinkedIn is just a big search engine like Google. So you want to get found on LinkedIn, and you want to find people. So if you optimize your profile, you can be found by more people. Then I also have a lot of videos on the website, because my book, literally, LinkedIn is changing its interface about once a month lately. I put new videos about their new features as they roll them out and how to use them, like tagging your contacts so you can send specific messages to certain audiences. Little things like that LinkedIn doesn't really announce, but I discover to become useful tools. So I have lots of videos on there.
Yeah, great. And what I loved is that, you have a step-by-step program too, just to get them started. So I'm looking at the 7-day kind of program. So it's not overwhelming. It's just a few minutes each day that you can do and get up to speed. And I can tell Ted has helped us, and one of the big areas was just so many financial advisors had lousy profiles. And when LinkedIn has done just a great job on search optimization. So when you look up somebody's name, almost always on the front page, if not in the first 1 or 2, will be LinkedIn under that person's name. And it's just so critical to have your profile positioned well.
Yeah, you got to get their attention, and that 2 or 3 seconds that they see you on LinkedIn, or they're going to go to the next financial advisor or the next whatever expert it is.
Yeah, and it's just really, there's a opportunity here to leverage it, and it's so it's really, LinkedIn is free. You can have premium services and so on. Where are you seeing people use premium services?
LinkedIn's making a big push now to give you more analytics about who's viewed your profile. And then when you do status updates and you do publishing posts, it gives you detailed stats about every person that actually viewed it, liked it, commented on it. So if I post something and somebody liked it or shared it to their network, I reach out to that person and connect and say, hey, thanks for sharing, or thanks for liking my content. It takes like 2 seconds to send that personal message, and then we build a relationship.
Well, I've had that happen, and and it's somebody that I know that I really have been wanting to talk with or reconnect, but haven't, and I just use that as an excuse to reach out to them. Hey, thanks for the share or whatever, and I've asked my it's been a long time since we've talked. I've asked my assistant to schedule a phone appointment, and I got to say, almost everybody does it, and it's just one of those nice, easy things to take a look at LinkedIn, once a day, and boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's a powerful, and you can use Facebook that way too, but LinkedIn is just much more focused on the business side.
Yeah.
Well, let me go to the last segment here. And this is key takeaways. And Ted, what I want to share is kind of with the entrepreneurs, our fellow entrepreneurs, kind of what I've learned. And I'm going to go, number one, everyone that's on this podcast, whether video or audio, you're an entrepreneur, you're a successful entrepreneur, you have to master conversational marketing. Okay, this is, in today's world, it's the only cost-effective way to get out there and really scale up. I mean, if you're delivering a great experience, whether you're selling widgets, professional services, once you've nailed that experience and it's working well, you want to scale it. Well, one of the best ways to scale it is through technology, and social media is a very easy way to do it. Make sure that you think of it though. So number one is master conversational marketing, which is starting the conversation. It's all about relationships. Second is focus. Don't try. I had one of my people put together a slide with every icon of all the social media stuff, and I had no idea. I remember, in fact, I questioned her whether they were all really social media. Focus on one or two that are your target market are hanging out in, and that's going to make a world of difference. You don't need to know all things. What you need to be is good at one area. The third part is make a long-term commitment. This is consistency. If you come in, make a splash, and disappear, it doesn't happen. So that consistent process. You don't have to be, I think I'm a little foolish and I'm doing 5 days a week business, a podcast, but it's something that I love doing. I want to share. I want to create this virtual mastermind of entrepreneur like minds so we can share bold ideas, great strategies and tactics. But whatever you're going to do, be consistent in it. Ted, I want to thank you for spending the time today to really share some of your insights, your success. You're making a difference out there. I know you made a big difference in our company, and I know the other entrepreneurs, they're going to be on your website because they can get just the free content is great. If you want to get more expertise, so you can reach out to Ted through the website as well, and we'll put the information in the show notes. But thank you again, sir. And with that, let me wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, we got all kinds of free stuff now. We're adding more and more at aesnation.com. I want to really thank everybody for the support. But the biggest thing that you can do is make a difference out there. And what I'm talking about is taking the ideas that Ted and the other interviews, the other fellow entrepreneurs I have the privilege of interviewing, taking their best ideas and executing. Your current clients, your future clients, they're counting on you. Don't let them down. We wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com